Ladies and gentlemen, today we stand at the crossroads of technology, geopolitics, and power. Artificial intelligence is no longer just a tool of innovation, it is a weapon of strategy. In a shocking and unprecedented move, India has unleashed its AI-driven defense system to block U.S. satellites. This isn't just about defense, it's about dominance, disruption, and the dawn of a new digital battlefield. What does this mean for global security? How will it reshape alliances, rivalries, and the very balance of power? Let's dive deep into this groundbreaking event and uncover the truth behind India's AI defense revolution. Artificial intelligence has shifted from being a tool of convenience to becoming a central pillar of modern defense systems, and its role as a shield is perhaps the most revolutionary aspect. In the past, countries relied heavily on traditional military equipment such as missiles, radars, and satellites to protect their airspace and territories. However, with the exponential growth of AI, the nature of protection has fundamentally changed. AI has the ability to process information at lightning speed, identify threats in real time, and respond with precision that no human could match. This makes it a shield not just in the physical sense, but also in the digital and strategic dimensions of modern warfare. The essence of AI as a defense shield lies in its predictive capability. Instead of waiting for an attack to occur, AI systems can monitor patterns of activity across vast networks, detect anomalies, and anticipate hostile actions before they even begin. For example, in the context of satellite security, AI can scan space traffic, track unusual movements of foreign satellites, and even neutralize interference by predicting where and how an enemy might strike. This turns defense into a proactive measure rather than a reactive one. The shield is no longer static. It adapts, evolves, and strengthens with every new piece of data it receives. What makes AI defense so transformative is its ability to integrate multiple layers of protection. Unlike human operators who might struggle to coordinate air, land, sea, and space defense simultaneously, AI can seamlessly merge these domains. It can track missiles while monitoring satellite signals, detect cyber attacks while securing communication lines, and adjust strategies in real time. This multidimensional approach creates a shield that is dynamic and nearly impenetrable. Countries like India are investing in this because traditional defense systems alone cannot cope with the speed and complexity of modern threats. AI acts as the bridge between defense hardware and strategic intelligence. Another crucial element of AI role as a shield is its autonomy. Traditional defense mechanisms require human input at every step, which creates delays and increases the risk of error. AI, on the other hand, can act independently once programmed with the right protocols. In situations where seconds can decide the difference between survival and destruction, this speed gives a country a critical advantage. While there are concerns about giving machines such autonomy, the reality is that no human system can match AI reaction time when threats are instantaneous. Finally, the symbolism of AI as a shield is just as important as its practical function. When a nation adopts AI defense, it sends a message to the world that it is prepared for the future battlefield, where algorithms may be as decisive as armies. It signals technological independence, resilience, and strength. In the case of India, positioning AI as its defense shield is not just about protecting satellites or borders. It is about asserting its place among the world's most powerful and technologically advanced nations. India's decision to use artificial intelligence in satellite warfare marks a defining moment in global defense history. For decades, space was considered a neutral zone, a frontier for exploration and communication rather than a battlefield. But with nations increasingly dependent on satellites for navigation, surveillance, communication, and intelligence gathering, the control of space has become as critical as control of land or sea. In this context, India's bold move to deploy AI systems that can block or disrupt U.S. Satellites is more than just a technological advancement. It is a strategic declaration of power. The move is shocking because it represents a direct challenge to one of the most powerful nations in space dominance, the United States. America's satellite network underpins not only its military capabilities, but also its global communication systems and economic infrastructure. By blocking or interfering with these satellites, India demonstrates that it has crossed into a realm once reserved for superpowers. This step signals that India is no longer content with being a regional power, but is asserting itself as a global player capable of challenging even the most advanced nations. AI plays a central role in this bold move. Unlike traditional anti-satellite weapons, which involve physically destroying satellites with missiles, AI-based warfare relies on disruption, manipulation, and control. Through advanced algorithms, India can jam signals, misdirect data, or cloak its activities in space without creating dangerous debris. This makes AI warfare not only cleaner, but also harder to detect and counter. The precision of AI allows India to interfere with satellites in real time, adjusting strategies in response to U.S. countermeasures. This flexibility is exactly what gives the move its shocking edge. It is not a one-time attack, but a sustained ability to deny an adversary access to its most valuable space assets. The political implications of this bold step are enormous. By deploying such a capability, India forces the world to reconsider its position in the geopolitical hierarchy. For Washington, it raises uncomfortable questions about the security of its own systems and the reliability of its global surveillance. For other nations, it creates both an opportunity and a warning. Align with India to share in its technological rise, or risk being left vulnerable to its newfound strength. The boldness lies not only in the act itself, but also in the message it sends, that India is willing to step outside traditional boundaries of military restraint to secure its place on the world stage. At the same time, India's action is a calculated risk, interfering with U.S. satellites risks diplomatic fallout, sanctions, or even escalation of tensions. Yet the fact that India still took this step underlines its confidence in AI as a game-changing tool. It knows that AI warfare provides plausible deniability, since disruptions can often be disguised as technical failures or natural malfunctions. This allows India to push the limits of space defense while minimizing direct accountability. Ultimately, India's bold move to challenge U.S. satellites with AI-based systems is not just about military defense. It is about rewriting the rules of global power. It proves that the future of warfare lies not in who has the biggest army, but in who has the smartest algorithms. And in making this shocking move, India has shown the world that it is ready to compete at the highest level of technological warfare. The relationship between India and the United States has always been layered with cooperation, competition, and strategic calculation. For years, both countries have positioned themselves as partners in defense, trade, and technology, often citing shared democratic values and common interests in countering other global powers. However, India's deployment of artificial intelligence to interfere with U.S. satellites introduces a serious strain into this partnership. It does not merely reflect a technical conflict in space, it shakes the foundation of trust between two nations that have been steadily building an alliance. The strategic impact of this event is profound, as it forces both sides to reconsider the balance of cooperation and rivalry in their relationship. From Washington's perspective, India's move is a breach of an unspoken understanding. The U.S. has long considered India a counterbalance to China in Asia, providing it with advanced defense technology and expanding intelligence sharing partnerships. By targeting American satellites, India disrupts this alignment and sends a signal that it will not play the role of a junior partner. Instead, it intends to pursue its own independent course, even if that means clashing with U.S. interests. This challenges the United States' ability to maintain influence in the Indo-Pacific and forces American policymakers to rethink how reliable India is as a strategic ally. For India, the motivation lies in asserting autonomy. While cooperation with the U.S. has been valuable, New Delhi has always been cautious about overdependence by showing that it can block U.S. satellites with AI technology. India is demonstrating that it has the tools to defend its sovereignty without relying on American protection. It also signals to the world that it is willing to act boldly, even against its supposed partners, if its national interests require it. This move may weaken short-term trust with Washington, but in India's calculation, it strengthens its long-term position as an independent global power. The strategic consequences of this action extend beyond bilateral ties. Other nations are closely watching the shift in U.S.-India relations. Allies of America in Europe and Asia may question how much they can trust U.S. assurances if one of its closest partners can challenge it so directly. Meanwhile, countries wary of American dominance may see India as a new pole of leadership in a multipolar world. This reshapes global diplomacy by elevating India as a state capable of defying U.S. supremacy without immediately collapsing under pressure. Yet, there is also a risk of backlash. The U.S. could respond with sanctions, restrictions on technology transfers, or a scaling back of defense cooperation. This would slow India's access to critical technologies in aviation, space, and weaponry. On the other hand, Washington may also choose to negotiate new boundaries in the partnership, recognizing that India's capabilities are too significant to ignore. Either way, the relationship will not return to what it was before. India has crossed a threshold that redefines the terms of engagement. In the end, the strategic impact of India's AI defense move is to shift U.S. India relations from a partnership based on trust to one defined by caution, competition, and recalibration. It underscores that in the age of artificial intelligence, alliances are fluid and power is constantly renegotiated. What once looked like a straightforward partnership now carries the complexity of rivalry wrapped inside cooperation, and that tension will shape the future of both nations. The militarization of space has long been a subject of debate, but recent developments have made it an undeniable reality. India's use of artificial intelligence to block U.S. satellites highlights that space is no longer simply a domain for exploration, science, or communication. It has become a contested battlefield. What makes this era different from the past is the level of dependence the modern world has on space assets. Satellites are the backbone of global positioning systems, secure communications, military intelligence, weather forecasting, and financial transactions. In short, whoever controls the skies above controls much of life below. By making a bold move with AI in space, India has pushed the world deeper into a new era where military power is inseparable from technological supremacy in orbit. Unlike the Cold War space race, which was mostly about prestige and scientific achievement, the new era of space militarization is about practical dominance. Every missile guidance system, every drone operation, and every naval deployment relies heavily on satellites for accuracy and communication. Disrupting these satellites means disrupting an adversary's ability to function effectively in war. Artificial intelligence amplifies this reality by enabling faster detection, smarter countermeasures, and precision interference. The AI-driven approach allows nations to neutralize enemy satellites without necessarily destroying them, which avoids the problem of space debris while still achieving tactical advantage. This introduces a quieter, more insidious form of militarization that is harder to detect but equally destabilizing. India's actions mark a shift in how nations perceive the militarization of space. Until recently, discussions about space security revolved around treaties and diplomatic pledges to keep space peaceful. But those commitments are weakening as countries realize that space is too critical to leave unguarded. By showing that AI can actively interfere with U.S. satellites, India has demonstrated that peaceful promises alone cannot ensure security. This sets a precedent for other nations to follow, accelerating the arms race in orbit. Nations such as China, Russia, and the United States already invest heavily in anti-satellite capabilities, but India's AI-driven approach introduces a new layer of sophistication and competition. The militarization of space also changes the psychological landscape of global security. Traditional battlefields are visible: armies on borders, ships at sea, or aircraft in the sky. Space, however, is invisible to ordinary citizens, which makes militarization harder to understand but no less dangerous. AI can carry out satellite disruptions quietly, with the public only realizing the impact when communication networks fail, navigation systems misguide, or military forces lose coordination. This invisible battlefield means nations could be under attack without even realizing it until the damage is done. That uncertainty magnifies fear and suspicion, fueling more aggressive investments in space warfare capabilities. The implications for global stability are profound. A militarized space environment increases the risk of miscalculation and escalation. If a satellite goes down, nations may struggle to determine whether it was a technical glitch, natural interference, or an AI-driven attack. Misinterpretations could trigger conflicts on Earth, as states retaliate based on incomplete information. India's move shows that AI can tilt the balance of power in space quickly and decisively, but it also highlights how fragile stability has become. In sum, the new era of space militarization is not a distant possibility. It is unfolding now. India's AI-based defense action against U.S. satellites proves that space is no longer a sanctuary. It is the ultimate high ground, and control over it will shape the future of warfare. Nations are being forced to rethink security, strategy, and survival as the silent war above our heads becomes just as critical as the visible battles on Earth. The global reaction to India's AI-driven satellite blockade has been one of shock, caution, and deep concern. For many countries, this move represents a dramatic shift in the balance of power, proving that artificial intelligence has now entered the most strategic domain of all outer space. The United States, being directly targeted, views this as not only a technological challenge but also a strategic humiliation. A nation long considered the dominant force in space has been shown to be vulnerable. This realization reverberates across the globe, sending shockwaves through both allies and rivals who now see that American supremacy is not absolute. For Washington's allies, particularly those in NATO and the Indo-Pacific, India's actions create anxiety about their own dependence on U.S. space infrastructure. Countries like Japan, Australia, and members of the European Union rely heavily on American satellites for defense cooperation and intelligence sharing. If India can block or disrupt these systems, what guarantees do smaller nations have about their own security? Some allies may call for stronger collective defense mechanisms in space, while others may seek to develop their own independent AI-based space systems to reduce vulnerability. Either way, trust in the United States as the sole guarantor of technological dominance has been shaken. Rivals of the United States, however, see opportunity. China and Russia, long engaged in their own space militarization programs, may quietly welcome India's boldness. Though Beijing and Moscow remain cautious of India's rise, they recognize that any challenge to U.S. hegemony benefits their broader strategic goals. India's move could even inspire them to accelerate their own AI-based space defense initiatives, leading to an arms race where every major power competes for control of orbit. For countries already wary of American influence, this event provides a narrative of resistance, proof that even a U.S. partner can challenge Washington's technological grip. The developing world's reaction is also significant. Nations in Africa, Latin America, and Southeast Asia, many of which rely on foreign satellite services, now face a dilemma. On one hand, they may admire India for standing up to the United States, viewing it as a symbol of a multipolar order where smaller or emerging powers have more agency. On the other hand, they worry about being caught in the crossfire of great power competition. If AI-driven satellite disruptions become common, essential services like communications, weather forecasting, and disaster response could be at risk. This creates fear that global stability may be sacrificed in the race for technological dominance. International organizations such as the United Nations are also thrown into uncertainty. Calls for new treaties to regulate the use of AI in space are likely to intensify, but enforcement will be difficult. India's move demonstrates that even agreements built on mutual trust can be bypassed when national interests demand it. The global shockwaves are not just about technology. They are about the collapse of assumptions. The assumption that space would remain peaceful, that U.S. satellites were untouchable, and that alliances would deter bold unilateral actions has been shattered. In the end, the global reaction is a mixture of admiration, fear, and urgency. Some view India as a pioneer rewriting the rules of power, while others see it as a dangerous escalator of conflict. What is clear is that the world can no longer ignore the role of AI in shaping the future of space security. The shockwaves of India's move will continue to ripple across diplomacy, defense, and global strategy for years to come. The future risks of artificial intelligence dominance in defense are both profound and unsettling. While AI promises speed, precision, and adaptability in ways human systems cannot match, its increasing control over defense decisions introduces dangers that could destabilize global security. India's bold use of AI to block U.S. satellites is a clear demonstration of its potential, but it also foreshadows the risks that come with ceding too much power to algorithms in warfare. The very qualities that make AI effective: autonomy, rapid decision-making, and the ability to learn are also what make it unpredictable and potentially uncontrollable. One of the greatest risks is the possibility of accidental escalation. AI defense systems are designed to detect threats instantly and respond without hesitation. However, the complexity of satellite networks, cyber systems, and space operations means that misinterpretations are inevitable. A solar flare, a technical malfunction, or even a harmless maneuver by another satellite could be mistaken by AI as a hostile act. In such a case, an autonomous defense system might retaliate automatically, sparking a chain of escalation between nations. The speed at which AI operates leaves little time for human leaders to intervene, making wars triggered by misunderstandings far more likely. Another risk is the erosion of accountability. Traditional warfare, however destructive, always involves human decision, makers who can be held responsible for their actions. With AI systems, the lines of responsibility blur. If an AI system disables a satellite, disrupts communications, or causes collateral damage, who is to blame? The programmers, the military leaders, or the machine itself? This lack of accountability could encourage reckless use of AI, since leaders may believe they can shift responsibility away from themselves. The absence of clear accountability frameworks is a serious ethical and strategic dilemma. There is also the risk of an AI arms race spiraling out of control. Once one nation demonstrates a breakthrough capability, others are compelled to match or surpass it. India's move has already shown how disruptive AI can be in space defense, and this will undoubtedly push other countries to invest heavily in similar or more advanced systems. The competition will not be limited to satellites. It will spread to drones, missile systems, cyber weapons, and naval operations. The result will be a world where weapons are faster, smarter, and harder to control, increasing the likelihood of conflicts breaking out with little warning. Furthermore, reliance on AI creates a new kind of vulnerability. If nations entrust their entire defense infrastructure to AI, then hacking or corrupting these systems becomes an extremely powerful form of attack. An adversary may not need to fire a single missile. Merely manipulating an AI decision-making process could cause chaos. This opens the door for non-state actors, rogue groups, or smaller nations to challenge global powers by exploiting weaknesses in their AI systems. The very shield designed to provide security could become the most fragile point of failure. Ultimately, the dominance of AI in defense forces the world to confront a difficult truth. The more we depend on machines to secure us, the more we risk losing control over the very systems designed to protect us. India's move demonstrates the strength of AI, but the future risks remind us that unchecked reliance on it could lead not to stability, but to a far more dangerous and unpredictable world.